No fucking way. Yo, no. No.
What is Triplicate Space, and why is it important? Prior to the release of the Isle of Bugsnax, moving into this area of Boiling Bay would make the character void out and get placed back on the beach with this message. Error. The Triplicate Space is not yet available to you. This was discovered in the first week of Bugsnax's release. Understood by no one. When I came across it, I was shocked and confused, writing Triplicate Space off as some sort of coding term. Still, it stood out in my mind as a piece of trivia that I could drop on folks doing their first runs of Bugsnax. After the release of the Isle of Bugsnax, this error changed slightly to say locked instead of error. So, where's the key? If you enter the Stone Grumpus domicile and light the lantern by the door under the ramp to the second floor, you'll open a door that leads to a triangular tunnel. Pick up the mysterious key. The description of the item immediately stands out. It can open a type of space. Welcome to the Triplicate Space, a space between worlds. Here, we find Clumby's interview with Alexander Jamfoot, a junior archivist and crypto-snackological researcher. Jamfoot was stationed here by order of the Snackolites to monitor this temple as a form of punishment. The Snackolites are what remained of Grumpbeard's voyage after arriving at Boiling Bay, as well as the scholars that came after to study Bugsnax. They seek to suppress the threat of Bugsnax until they can be controlled. Their activities are often mistaken for the Grumpinati. So what did Jamfoot discover in his time here? The Triplicate Space is a temple built by the Stone Grumpuses for unknown purposes. 2 queens of Bugsnax have been recorded.
The first queen was wrathful. When she awakened, she wreaked terrible vengeance on those who had sacrificed her to the Bugsnax. The second queen was benevolent. Through her guidance, the Bugsnax were pacified, and the Snacktooth Empire flourished for centuries. But as all empires do, it grew beyond her control. The third queen will be one of ours. Hopefully. With her power, we will usher in an age of peace and prosperity. Ideally, before my student loans are due.
This seems to imply that Lizbert being swallowed up by the ground and thrown into the Undersnacks was no coincidence. Also note how Jamfoot only seems to get Lizbert's name correctly in the end dialogue. Perhaps she's the only one the organization cares about.
It had to be them. Lizbert's crew. Flibbo, Tiffany, Wampus, whatever their names are.
The tapes also teach us that Veronica Lottablog is still alive.
I've been watching your expedition with great interest. I don't get radio out here, so you know most entertainment I've had all year. I'm afraid that Veronica Lottablog has gone somewhere that you should not follow.
Veronica is a famous explorer and also Triffany's grandmother. Veronica never returned from her expedition to Snacktooth, which is the main impetus for Triffany to join the Snacksburg expedition. Triffany's final side quest ends with her accepting the fact that she may never know what became of her grandmother. Her photo in the end credits shows that she's accepted the fact that Veronica is lost and is willing to move on. However, this discovery in the Triplicate Space shows us that Veronica stumbled across something a little too closely for the Snackolites. The center of the Triplicate Space features a couple murals. Based on this first one, we can infer that the Grumpuses that are chosen as queens are cast into a den of Bugsnax against their will and experience an event similar to Lizbert's case. The Bugsnax consume their body and mind, unless the Grumpus is strong enough to control them. If they fail, they simply join the snacks that populate the pit. Notice how the Grumpus eyes are strikingly similar to the snack eyes. The snacks that advance on the would-be queen are failed queens themselves. This other mural depicts two grumpuses, and this is where the speculation comes in. They could be the kings of the stone grumpuses and desert grumps respectively. The stone grumpus king looks angry, while the desert emperor looks pleased with himself. He has every right to. According to Jamfoot's notes, the desert empire controlled most of the land on Snacktooth. The stone grumpuses had to make their main settlement on the south island, what we know as Broken Tooth. I should mention here that the titles of king and queen may not be gender specific. In my understanding, I would say that the queen is the entity that has the power to control Bugsnax, and the king is the figurehead that leads the grumpuses. Given that the first queen was malevolent, perhaps it was born of malice over the Desert Empire's claim over Snacktooth. We know that Broken Tooth has a sacrificial pit, and Snacktooth has its own sacrificial pit in the form of the Undersnacks. While we're speculating, let's analyze Jamfoot some more. The way he describes his time in the Triplicate Space implies he doesn't really enjoy it, but he still remains there alone. The way he came to join the Snackalites as an unpaid intern is very sad. 13 Employee of the Month awards line the wall in the break room, highlighting his loneliness. It paints Jamfoot as a sad character, yet the final tape shows that he's taken Clumby in as a Snackalite.
Well, wasn't that fun? I will be taking your recordings now. Oh, don't look so shocked. Surely you understand I can't let any of this become public knowledge. As for what happens to you, well, I believe the Snackalites could use someone with your investigative talents. And I, of course, could really use a recruitment bonus.
And the new post-game dialogue shows that he intends to ruin us. So, ultimately, he's less dangerous than Floofty? Some interesting information about Jamfoot is that, like the mention of Triplicate Space, he existed from the beginning of Bugsnax. Hidden in a folder of the game's data was an out-of-place Grumpus Picrew, featuring an image very similar to the one seen in Jamfoot's Employee of the Month photo, except he was holding a Strabby and his glasses weren't messed up. I suppose the last thing to analyze what we learned from the Triplicate Space is the Cappuccino that awakens during our first visit to the break room. Jamfoot describes himself as being a part-time barista, so the Cappuccino is logical, but does that mean Jamfoot created Cappuccino? He certainly named it Joey Quickbeans. Let me know in the comments if I'm reading too deeply. Receiving closure on the Triplicate Space and the mysterious Grumpus in the files was something I didn't expect from this humble DLC. I feel like we were left with 2 or 3 questions at the end of the base game, but the DLC introduced many more elements that leaves me hungrier than ever for a sequel. On the bright side, I have more faith that enough loose ends are present to create a sequel with a solid amount of content. Is there anything I missed? Any speculations you disagree with? Any silly mistakes like I made in the previous video? Let me know in the comments. More Bugsnax content is on the way as I have started writing a script for another video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to dramatically increase your chances of capturing the elusive Cappuccino and to be the first to watch my next video. Alright, I'll stop. See you next time.